Hello, my name is Greg Kenyon. I'm co-chair of the Iowa Bar Association Elder Law section, and we're here today with Kristen Hall. Kristen is a member of the ISBA, practiced primarily in the area of elder law, mediation, and collaborative divorce. And today we're going to talk a little bit about elder mediation. So we'll start off with the first question. How is mediation used in an elder situation?
So mediation in these situations is primarily a facilitated family meeting. We face a variety of challenges as we age, and it really necessitates planning across the generations. There may be needs that are financial, need for financial assistance, a need for medical assistance, home care. People are living longer and staying in their homes longer, but sometimes they need more care. Families aren't really sure how to provide that, what resources are available, and family may not be close, they may be spread out. So it really starts out as a family meeting to help the family figure out what needs to be done, what resources are available, who's going to do what, and how do they communicate going forward.
So you've had some experience doing this. What do you find to be the benefits of mediation?
A lot of these cases are very emotional. So we're dealing with, in elder law and in probate cases, we're dealing with a lot of grief. Things like Alzheimer's can lead our family's members to feel like they're leaving before they've left us. So there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of emotion tied up, and it makes decision making very challenging. It makes communication very challenging. It's tough for the court to deal with that. The court's not really equipped to deal with some of the emotional family issues. In mediation, we can address that. It gives everyone a chance to be heard. It helps people say what they need to say and hear what's being said to them, because you have that neutral facilitator there to lead the discussion.
Are there types of cases in your experience that lend themselves better for mediation, or could all types of disputes be mediated?
I would say most types can certainly be mediated. When there's decision making that needs to be done, who's going to handle the financial matters? Who's going to help with the home care? Do we need to have a guardian or conservatorship? Can mom and dad still do some things? Do we need family members to step in? Do we need outside help? There are a lot of things that need to be dealt with, and families tend to wait. We tend to wait until crisis mode because we just start doing little things. We put out those little fires each day, well, eventually they start to grow. That's where mediation can really come in and help.
It seems to me that we have a mindset perhaps that mediation should take place, on the eve of trial. But from your experience, are there other times when you can mediate, or is there a better or worse time?
The sooner the better. Mediation is great for proactive problem solving. I've had people come in at the planning stages when mom and dad are still in good shape, but maybe there's been a diagnosis of the beginning of Alzheimer's. So we're still competent, we're still all there, we can still function day to day, but we know what's going to be happening and we want to plan ahead. The earlier that you plan, the more options are available for the families and for the elders, and you start that communication before everyone is really stressed out. They've done studies that when the emotional side of our brain is lit up, the prefrontal cortex, where we make our good decisions, sort of shuts off. And so we need to calm those emotions, and mediation's very good with that because it's about empathy and listening and meeting people where they are. But we have to calm those emotional side before we can make those good decisions. If you come in early, before the emotions have ramped up, that's much easier to have that conversation.
Is there a downside to mediating? Would people lose their rights if they've attempted a mediation?
No. Mediation is, they say that what happens there stays there, so it's all confidential. It doesn't take away any of the court options. But many times, cases, the way that we mediate will come up with the same solution the judge would have come to, but without the stress of dragging your family through court.
Well, this kind of leads into the next question. So why would you attempt mediation before filing a lawsuit or setting a trial?
Mediation lets families resolve their differences while maintaining their relationships. You never want to sue your family. It's going to make Thanksgiving dinner very difficult to go back there. And it's tough when you are making accusations in court against your family, against your siblings, to go into court and have to prove that mom or dad is incompetent. That's harsh. That has an impact on the long-term relationships in the family. Mediation is private. It lets the family decide it as a family how they're going to work together. And part of what I do in mediations is talk about that next step. When we leave the room, we go back out into the world. How do you want to communicate with each other? How do you want to work together? What are the things that have really kind of been the triggers to create the conflict, and how can we work around those?
So a little bit of this, perhaps a lot of this, is about breaking down those barriers to communication.
A lot of it is. When we're stressed, we don't communicate well, and we don't say what we mean, and we don't hear what's being said. And it's very helpful to have someone come in that can help decipher that.
And it helps get past some of that accusatory things that happens. The child from out of town comes in,
Yes.
visits mom or dad. The child who's been in town has been bearing the burden, doesn't know the whole story.
We call that the sibling from Seattle who likes to swoop in, tell everyone what they should be doing, and then swoop back out again. Now, what's really going on there oftentimes is that they're trying to be a contribution, and we all want to be a contribution. We all love our parents. This is the last stage of their journey, and we want to be able to contribute. We want to be able to help in some way. The person living out of town can't come and make dinner on Sunday nights. They can't come mow the lawn, but they could perhaps help balance the checkbook, do some of the financial things because all of it's online. Or they could pay for respite care to come in and give the sibling that is their day-to-day a break. But we don't think about that. So those are the sorts of things we can come up with in mediation, is look at what are the jobs that needs to be done, who's best suited to do that, and how can everyone be a contribution in a more productive way.
So, on balance, you find this to be helpful for families, and so would you say that mediation is helpful for families?
Absolutely. And what I find is that people don't disagree as much as they think they do, but because the communication has broken down, they don't realize that. And so I prefer, when I do mediations, I'll talk to everyone ahead of time so they have their chance to talk to me one-on-one and just say what they need to say and vent a little bit and get rid of some of that emotion, because oftentimes there are things we really need to say that we really shouldn't say in front of everybody else. But they need to get it out, and they can get that out with me. When we come together in the room, I want everyone around the table so they can hear from each other, and I'm there to facilitate that so it's a more productive discussion. But oftentimes, oh, I didn't realize that. Well, you feel that way too. Oh, I didn't know that. I was assuming. We make a lot of assumptions, and we act on assumptions. And now the other person is upset about the assumption. They make their own assumptions, and it just snowballs. We can cut that, get rid of that cycle.
So when you're setting up one of these, and you mentioned having a group of family members get together, who should participate?
Whoever needs to be there to make decisions. Who's going to be a part of this process? Who needs to be there for the solution? There's always the option for the elder to attend, depending on where they are in their condition, whether or not that would be stressful for them. There's the language I heard from the Department on Aging is no decision about me without me. This is their life. We talk about how when we get into decline, dementia, Alzheimer's, that we kind of revert back to childhood. And ability-wise, that's true, but that lifetime of experience is still in there. The mountains they climbed, the businesses they built, the things they accomplished is still there somewhere. And so that dignity, that sense of self, is still there, even if they can't always take care of themselves now. So at least having them have their say, even if they can't be part of the decision, they can be part of the discussion.
Is it important, if there's 4 or 5 children, that they all be there, or they all have a voice somehow?
Yes. And because if they don't have a voice in the room, they'll feel left out, and they may come back later and try to stir up conflict. Now, some people may say, it's okay, I trust my siblings to make the decision, it's too much for me, and that's fine, but they have the opportunity. It's up to them whether or not they show up.
A simple kind of question about the mediation process itself. If people are looking at this, how much time should they anticipate it's going to take?
And that really depends on the situation itself. Usually a mediation session is 2 to 3 hours, because that's about the max people can sit and go through this process, because it is emotional. Sometimes if it's simple issues, it may be resolved in that time. I've had some where we do multiple shorter sessions, either for practical reasons, that's the time people have, or we may say after the first one, there's additional information we need. Maybe if we've identified the care that's going to be needed, we need to know how to pay for it. We need to look into where mom and dad's finances are. So we may come back and do it in multiple shorter sessions with some homework for the family in between.
And just recently, there's been an initiative to have mediation utilized in court proceedings and for probate proceedings here in Polk County. Can you tell us a little bit about that program?
Yes, that came into effect on March 1st. So under the Polk County pilot program, the Supreme Court has approved this for 3 years to try to see how mediation can work in the probate court to help these families, because what's happening is a lot of these families are coming into court because they don't know where else to go. And it's a lot of the emotion, a lot of the venting, and the court's not really equipped to best handle that. So under the program, Judge Block, our probate judge, has the discretion to send cases to mediation if he feels that's a better way, that'll be a better solution for the family. So they will contact the Polk County Bar Mediation Program, who will line them up with a mediator. And the family will go through the mediation first to see if they can resolve all of the issues, or at least narrow down the issues to what's really the legal questions the court needs to deal with. And then they'll have a hearing. Then they'll be able to go back for a hearing, or be able to go back and have the issue resolved.
And even though it's a pilot program in Polk County, if people from around the state wanted to engage in mediation, there's nothing that would stop them if everybody wanted to give it a try.
Absolutely. And there was a program that was developed with the Department on Aging and the Iowa Association of Mediators a few years ago, and we have trained elder mediators in every area in Iowa. There are 6 area agencies on aging, and we have people in all 6 of those areas that are trained.
So there's lots of avenues for people to get into a mediation system.
Absolutely.
Kristen, if a person is seeking a mediator, or they think they'd like to go into mediation, how would they find a mediator?
Well, in Polk County, we have the program being run through the Polk County Bar Mediation Program. There are private mediators out there, so there may just be a search of elder mediators. We'll turn that up. The Iowa Association of Mediators also has mediators on their website, people that are qualified across the state, as well as the area agencies on aging, all have information about mediators in their area.
And the area agencies on aging are throughout the state?
Yes, the area agencies on aging are under the Department on Aging, and there are 6 of them around Iowa that each serve a population of roughly 100,000 over 60.
If you were working on a mediation and you had a relative or 2 from out of town that wanted to participate, but they had trouble traveling, is there a way to accommodate them?
Yes, those people can participate via Skype or Zoom, one of those services, or we can put them on a conference call as well, so they're part of the room as well.
If a mediation comes to a conclusion, you've had a successful day mediating, what happens then?
So it depends on what the agreement was that the family reached. If it is something that the family is going to be able to implement by themselves, so family will be able to provide home care, we'll bring in a private service, but there's no necessity for court action, then the family can simply take their agreement and put it into action. If, on the other hand, they've decided that it's time for a guardianship or a conservatorship, they can take that paperwork back to the court for the judge's approval, but they can go back with a united voice. So it's a much simpler process than going through a hearing.
So there may be some loose ends to tie up, but the mediation gets a global agreement, hopefully a global agreement.
Yes, we know what the next steps are, and there may be steps that need to go, simple steps that need to go back to court, but it's a much easier process.
And if people look at this as thinking about this as an option, one of the questions they're going to ask is, what will it cost to go through mediation?
Right, and the cost varies by the mediators, but the nice thing is, as opposed to hiring an attorney, the cost of the mediator is shared between all of the parties. So even if you're doing roughly what an attorney would cost, you're dividing it 3, 4, 5 ways, so it's much more affordable.